Hi, this is Billie Jean King.
This is Marion Bartoli.
This is Bianca Andreescu.
I'm Mats Wilander.
This is Mary Carrillo.
This is Pam Schreiber.
This is Yannick Noah, and you're listening to the Tennis Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast. It is day 11 of Roland Garros. It is currently 6 p.m. in the evening here as we come to you here in part one, sat in our usual spot in the Place des Mousquetaires, overlooked by Court Philippe Chatrier. And, well, France has a new mousquetaire. Her name is Lois Boisson. She is the world number 361, although not for long. She's playing in her very first Grand Slam tournament, and today she beat Mirra Andreeva 7-6, 6-3, the world number 6, to reach the semi-finals of her home major here in Paris. David, what a story.
It is an incredible story, and I don't really understand Lois Boisson yet as a person, because she makes it look as if it's nothing, really, in terms of her body language and the way she talks. She's very unassuming, very quietly spoken. She doesn't really sort of react dramatically in the way she talks, but certainly does in terms of body language on the court in reacting to shots. But her game today, and to do it against a player who we all rate so highly as Mirra Andreeva, as a match player and as somebody who's got her wits about her in rallies. This is not a player in Lois Boisson who's coming out and just smashing everybody off the court. This is not a Sabalenka. This is an artist of a player, and a very canny player too. You know, you don't know what is coming from ball to ball. I think in 5 years you could play a match and you wouldn't necessarily know what was coming ball to ball. But for it to be a completely brand new player for the vast majority of us, and no doubt for her opponents, it makes it even more effective. And she was incredible today, how she came back from deficits, how she sort of withstood the pressures of the moment and got better in those moments.
The first women's wildcard to reach the semi-finals here since the Open era began in 1968. She is going to go from French number 24 to French number 1. Her live ranking is 61 in the world, and obviously if she progresses further, that could rise further. This time last year she was on the sidelines. She was in a hospital bed with a torn ACL that she sustained the week before Roland Garros, thinking that she was going to be making her Grand Slam debut at Roland Garros, and she suffered the ultimate heartbreak. And 12 months on this, Matt, how on earth do you put it into words?
I think the image that I'll remember the most from this day is when we'd all watched Boisson win and we'd walk back into the media room and I heard Chris Clary, long-time esteemed tennis journalist. He's seen it all, and he was just constantly saying, it's crazy. And he said, I've seen a lot of crazy. And it was even getting to Chris. Like, that is how wild this run is, this story is, beating back-to-back top 10 players as she's done now, Boisson. I have a list of names for you. Sofia Kostoulas, Susan Bendecki, Lily Tagger.
It's like shout-outs.
And Sylvia Ambrosio. They are 4 players who have beaten Boisson since the Australian Open this year. Like, I guarantee you've never heard of any of them.
You'd be right.
And yet she has now reached the semi-finals with Roland Garros.
Which incidentally, Amélie Mauresmo was unable to do in 15 attempts.
Yeah, she's the last French player to do it since 2011, Marion Bartoli.
And, like, I feel like I probably should have started my section of the pod today with an apology because I think never have I been more wrong and I've been wrong a lot, but I just thought that the win over Pegula felt like the crescendo, the summit, the high point of this run for her. And I said it, I thought Andreeva would take her apart. I really thought Andreeva would win this match comfortably. And I just couldn't have been more wrong. It was so shocking. I think what's been interesting is that both Pegula and Andreeva have come out playing the better tennis against her. Pegula won the first set, was kind of coasting. Andreeva was winning the tactical battle that was going on in the early stage of this match. She was hitting her backhand down the line like a dream. Andreeva causing Boisson all sorts of problems. She was winning touch rallies up at the net. And I was like, oh, I'm right. Andreeva is going to win this. But then both matches turned into something else. They turned into a kind of frenzy. And they turned into a can you deal with this situation? And Pegula couldn't, and Andreeva certainly couldn't. And Boisson's tennis was excellent too. I thought she played a lot better today than she did against Pegula. Way better. I think if I'd seen that performance from Boisson a couple of days ago, I don't think I would have underestimated her quite so much, because I was watching her today and thinking, wow, that forehand really is incredible. The serve is good too. The backhand is in and out, mostly out, but when it was in, and she absolutely cracked a couple of those as well. And her composure in the big moments, as David described, was very impressive. So like she's clearly got more game than I had realised, but she dealt with the occasion better than her two top 10 opponents. And I know she had the whole crowd cheering for her rather than against her, but still, that can be a lot too. And yeah, it's an unbelievable run, and I cannot explain it.
They were two very different sets, weren't they? And I feel like we should treat them very separately, because in the second set, we've just been in Mirra Andreeva's press conference. In the second set, that was so affected by the crowd for Mirra Andreeva. She fell apart mentally in that set. It was actually quite a tough watch. As much as I think the crowd potentially crossed the line a bit, but like not in a way that's unusual here. They were booing her a bit when she was querying stuff with the umpire, but it was pretty classic French crowd stuff, albeit particularly voluminous because it's a French player in the quarterfinals. But Mirra Andreeva is an 18-year-old, and it's hard not to feel a little protective of her in those sort of situations. So it was a very tough watch towards the latter stage of that second set. The first set, though, and Andreeva's just told us this herself, the mental side of it didn't come into it. Andreeva was proud of how she dealt with the crowd and the surroundings and the situation in that first set. And yet still in that set, 80 minutes of it, she was unable to take Lois Boisson apart. Why?
She managed it for a while, I felt. In as much as you could sense that she was reading the game and reading the clever tactics of Boisson, reacting to them, and usually coming out on top. And I thought, okay, she's got the measure of her, and she's eventually just going to accelerate away. And that was the biggest surprise to me of all, was that Boisson didn't go away. That she actually started to come back into a set that she was second best in for most of. I was sitting next to Itamar Katzir, our colleague here at Roland Garros, also a barge member, and he was watching the match with me, and he commented that Mirra Andreeva has just about the best movement and anticipation with movements in the entire game, and I do agree with that. It's like she's already moving before a ball is played. And it makes it so hard to put the ball away against her. But Boisson didn't go away, and she actually started to find a combination that Andreeva really did struggle with. And the way I look at it, the way I look at that forehand, is she lines it up, and she has a huge sort of wind-up where you don't know what... You think, oh, here we go, there's a massive forehand coming here. And sometimes actually what comes off the strings is a dollied up ball that looks like it's been fed to be put away. And it goes halfway up the court, but actually, as it happens, unless you hit a cold winner, in Andreeva's position, you're sort of stranded for the next ball. And she got caught out a couple of with those, and then the other one is that she would wind up with that forehand, and then there would be like a heat-seeking missile coming out of the racket, and you could tell that it was rocking Andreeva back on her heels. She just didn't know what was coming next, and I think that got in her head a bit, and the way the scoreboard kept so close. I mean, it was, you know when Emma Raducanu won the US Open, there was a line from Martina Navratilova who said on your coverage, it's like she's been here before. And I was watching that set and I was thinking, Boisson is not carrying herself like a novice. She's carrying herself like she's in charge. She's conducting this situation as though this happens to her all the time. And it's slightly otherworldly, the way she's doing it. And she does it in such an unflappable kind of way. You think, well, where's your nerves? And I'm sure they're raging inside somewhere, but she doesn't let on. And she won the mental battle. She won the tactical battle in that set. It's mind-blowing, really.
She did an incredible job of not letting Andreeva have the backhand down the line, didn't she? She kept on hitting that forehand from the backhand corner and taking it up the line. People call it an inside-in forehand, which I think is a very confusing turn of phrase. But so sort of standing way out of court, but having the physical strength to hit that shot and then get back in position. I thought she did that masterfully today.
Yeah, and it was an adjustment she made, because Andreeva was getting her with the backhand down the line early in the match, but then she stopped allowing that shot to come into play, exactly as you described, by hitting the forehand inside in instead of inside out. And look, Andreeva played a very poor game when she served for the first set. Like, really poor. And that, to me, let Boisson back in. Andreeva then stepped up and saved a lot of set points to push it to a tie break. She was sort of... She had quite a lot of double faults in that game, Andreeva. She was on the brink, but then she was holding it together and saving the set points. And then when she pushed it into the tiebreak, all along I was so deluded. I just thought Andreeva was the favourite at the start of that tiebreak.
You had a lot of credibility on the line, Matt.
And it's all gone. And she went up 2-love in the tiebreak, Andreeva. And I thought, OK, she saved the set points, she's got a mini break. But then Boisson hit 3 winners in a row. Forehand winner, drive volley winner, backhand winner to get to 3-2. But still Andreeva came back at her, and Andreeva had a set point in this one. And she hit one of those great backhands up the line. Boisson, a great defensive lob, and Andreeva running back sort of shanked a forehand out. So we were then level at 6-all. And then Boisson wins the next 2 points and takes the first set. And that was when, everything changed in the stadium. Because I think... obviously the support for Boisson had been loud, but at that point it turned into something else. There was just people jumping up and down, hugging each other. It was like football atmosphere, to be honest. And Boisson put her finger to her ear, and Andreeva turned to her box. And that was then a theme throughout the second set, where she kept pointing at her box and asking for someone to leave and asking for someone to leave. Eventually her mother left. I don't know whether Andreeva was asking for her to leave. She hinted in her press conference that maybe she was asking Conchita Martinez to leave. Whatever, it was extremely uncomfortable and difficult to watch Andreeva like that. As I think that's a great word, protective. I just felt bad for her. As much as I think to begin with, the atmosphere was perfectly fine and, great. I think there were points where it went over the top. There were points when there was a lot of cheering between missed first and second serves, for example, which is just not the done thing in tennis, and I can understand why that really got to Andreeva.
There was the warning from Sporting Conduct in the second set, wasn't there?
When she whacked a ball up into the
Could that have been worse for her in terms of punishment? Was that totally appropriate?
I think it was about right.
Yeah.
It wasn't... She hit it away from people, didn't she? Look, I don't like it when players smack balls around. I don't think they should, but... in the heat of the moment, you are probably sometimes going to do something like that. But at least she did it up in the air, away from people. But yeah, it was It was a lot. It was a lot.
She needs to book Jannik Sinner as her practice partner tomorrow morning.
Because Boisson and Sinner practiced together this morning on Chapter.
They were incredible scenes, and
the
the jokes we were making about it this morning.
Andreeva was there too. You know, it was one of those where there wasn't any, time really. They all wanted to hit on Chapter, so they all kind of had to just be on the court together. And yeah, we saw Boisson
does that mean
hitting.
Andreeva was hitting with Bublik?
It should do, shouldn't it? But I don't think that was the case.
Right. I mean, when I say hitting together, they really were hitting together. There were cameras out there. There's footage of it. It was a really fun thing to see this morning before the match. Unfortunately, in order to throw forward a bit to Boisson's semi-final, which of course will be tomorrow, because the women's semi-finals are tomorrow in the day session, we have no choice but to talk about the other quarterfinal,
which was very different to this one.
Let's go back to 11 a.m, folks, and relive the match that prompted Matt to say, as we were leaving the stadium, we should be handed T-shirts that say "I survived Gauff Keys," because this was bad. 6-7, 6-4, 6-1 for the extraordinary Coco Gauff, who, at the end of the second set, at the start of the third, it's been two absolute dog shit sets of tennis. Matt says it would be very Coco Gauff to win this match. She wins those matches, and it's an extraordinary skill, but it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. And even if you just look at the stats list, it's terrible. I mean, and I understand that unforced errors are sometimes subjectively chosen and marked up, but
all of my complaints about the unforced error counter from the other night do not apply to this this match.
This sounds just about right. Madison Keys hit 25 winners and 60 unforced errors. Coco Gauff hit 15 winners and 41 unforced errors. And it was just one of those.
But crucially, only 2 in the third set. Yeah. That was what was different. It was bad from Gauff today. 31 unforced errors I had her down as, but only 2 in that deciding set. That was the change, because Keys kept on making the errors and Gauff found a way to stem the flow.
Totally, and we shouldn't underestimate that. I think that was a very impressive final set from Gauff. She didn't do much beyond keeping the ball in the court and just getting Keys moving a bit, but to go from where she had been, which was kind of all over the place, to suddenly looking so locked in, there's not many players that can do that, I don't think, and it's something that we have seen Gauff do. This match reminded me a lot of her first match in Madrid against Jastrzemska, when she lost the first set 6-love. But actually, if you watch the latter stages of that match, Gauff wasn't making that many unforced errors. She'd gone from horror show to actually being really, really solid and tough as nails, and it's such a skill for her to be able to do that. But oh gosh, this match was horrendous. It really was. I thought the most depressing thing I was going to see today was Annette Kontaveit playing in the mixed legends with Cedric Pioline, less than 3 years after she was number 2 seed at the US Open. Just like, I needed quite a lot of time to let that sink in when I saw that on the order of play. But actually the most depressing sight was arriving right just before the first ball of this semi-final, of this quarter-final, between Coco Gauff and the reigning Australian Open champion, and just the depressing sight on Châtelet of it being virtually empty, of them having moved people into the posh seats in the boxes to make it look fuller than it was.
Matt was Hawkeye about that. He spotted it straight away. He said, those aren't the clothes of people in the posh seats.
And with the roof on, it was just dark and just absolutely flat. And
it was grim. It was it did not feel like the French Open. And I know there's nothing they can do about the weather.
Yeah.
I bet they wish they'd had the same architect for the Châtelet roof as they had for the Longlen roof. Maybe it wasn't architecturally possible Could you ask your sister, Matt?
I will.
I'd love to know, actually. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't give us an honest answer, but the Longland Reef is so great. It lets the natural life in, and it shows up the Chatrier Reef, I think, because it's gloomy in there. Yeah, it's such a downer when the roof's on.
And I have to feel that some of those flat vibes were some of the reason that this match was like the way it was. Like, it was just very hard to play inspiring tennis in such uninspiring surroundings and circumstances.
It was giving me COVID flashbacks.
Yeah. Now, the first set I did find, like, it became very obvious very quickly that the quality was low. But actually, I enjoyed the drama.
Very quickly.
I enjoyed the drama at the end of the first set. Madison Keys saved a set point with a huge forehand winner. Gauff saved a set point in the tiebreak with a short slice that I don't know whether she meant. I'm not sure she did, but it was kind of a great shot. And anyway, there was drama there. It was fun as both players were, looking to win that set. And when Keys won it, I thought, you know what? That's Madison Keys stepping up in a pretty big moment again this year in a Grand Slam. But she never had her game. And, because it was like that, just that tussle, that sort of gritty match with neither player at their best, I just always favoured Gauff in it. She's so good at winning them. She can win both playing at her best and almost at her worst, which is an incredible thing to do, whereas Madison Keys doesn't normally win when she's playing at her worst, because the errors just keep coming, and Gauff did manage to halt them, and it was to her credit.
There was a great answer from Madison Keys in her press conference which explained, really, although this wasn't the question, but it explained why Coco Gauff is A, involved in so many matches like this, and B, wins so many matches like this. And she said, first of all, she was talking about how slow and heavy the conditions were, and they were, and she felt that slowness played into Coco Gauff's strength. But she also said Gauff's movement and retrieval skills, which are unmatched.
Yeah.
Unmatched in tennis. She said they made her feel like she had to take even more risk than usual. And Madison Keys is right at the top of the risk-taking charts in tennis, isn't she? So Madison Keys feeling like she needed to up the risk tolerance in her tennis. Unforced errors don't tend to happen totally in a vacuum. Some days you will just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you'll have a shocker, but not often, and not often to a reigning Grand Slam champion that's got endless experience in that sort of position. Coco Gauff made Madison Keys play like that to an extent, and Madison Keys playing like that, it's pretty difficult to play your own good match when you've got Madison Keys bashing errors all over the place on the other side of the court, because you're not getting any rhythm at all, are you? Now, again, Madison Keys isn't entirely to blame. There were some hideous double faults from Gauff, and there were moments when the forehand looked ropey, very, very shonky. But it's not an accident or a coincidence that Coco Gauff ends up in matches like this, David.
No, I think that's true. She wins a lot of matches where she doesn't look like she's playing that well. In fact, I've seen her win tournaments, big tournaments, where she doesn't look like she's playing that well. I do think maybe the circumstances contributed to the performances of both players. We arrived this morning, it was the first day of really dreary weather, and we were a bit down about it, and we bought a pain au chocolat on the way in because we wanted to just cheer ourselves up, first time of the tournament. And we walked into the Court Philippe Chatrier, which had the roof on. It's 11 o'clock, it's early, the place is so empty compared to what it should be, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, the roof's on, it looks like night time, and I think it just probably is a bit of a downer. It's difficult to get a buzz, even as players, I would have thought, in those circumstances. They tried their hearts out, there's no question about that, but the vibes were felt in the next match that happened, and Boisson, she played better than both of these players, that's for sure. But you're right. I mean, that's what Coco Gauff does. I mean, she can sometimes play lights out. We saw it at the start of the year. We saw it at the end of last year. But she's just one heck of a competitor, and she doesn't let her basic forehand frailties stop her from winning tennis matches. That in itself is a superpower.
And in terms of Gauff against Boisson in the semi-finals tomorrow, there's no head-to-head we can look up. There's no past matches we can look at on YouTube. Like, what on earth is that match going to look like? Because Lois Boisson is not a risk-taking tennis player in the way that Madison Keys is. She's not a pusher, but she is not Madison Keys. Like, Gauff isn't going to be able to draw her into the trap that Madison Keys ended up in today. How big a chance does Boisson have here, and what will that match look like?
Look, I underestimated Boisson badly before, and I might be about to do it again. I just think that two top 10 players in a row now obviously lost to Boisson, but as I said, they both were winning the battle to begin with. They were both better than Boisson before the match turned, and I just think I would back Gauff mentally if the match turned, or maybe to not even let it turn. I just think she's mentally tougher than Pegula and Andreeva, and it will be tough for her, because I could imagine the French crowd cheering double faults, cheering missed first serves, cheering shank forehands. Like, that is going to be brutal.
It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible when you're in the stadium and you see that.
I must say, Gauff, if Gauff takes the attitude that she's just spoken about in her press conference into the match, she'll be fine, because she said, I get it. Like, I've played with the crowd behind me, and I understand that home crowds want to support their home player. I get it. I understand it.
That quote made me think of the match she played against Laura Siegemund at the US Open en route to her title a couple of years ago, when the crowd was such a big part. And yeah, New York got the Laura Siegemund experience that day, and we've all been there.
So if she can accept that, she said she might even try the old thing about pretending they're cheering for her, which I think will be tough if they're cheering between missed serves, but let's see. But yeah, I just think even if her game isn't as structurally sound as it could be right now, Gauff, and that can be something Boisson can probably expose and exploit, she's as mentally tough as they come, and I think Andreeva certainly, and Pegula to a certain extent as well, have lost that match against Boisson mentally. And I don't mean to underrate the tennis that Boisson's played, because particularly today she was awesome, but I just don't think Gauff's losing that match mentally.
Well, I don't think she's losing it mentally. What I do think we will see, if Boisson is playing well, she'll get the chance to play well. This isn't Aryna Sabalenka, if she's playing against, who is just going to try and knock her off the court, and she wouldn't get any time on any of the balls. The same would have been the case against Madison Keys. She might have got a lot of errors from a Keys game. That's probably not going to be the case here, because of the consistency generally of state of mind of Coco Gauff. But you give Boisson a canvas, she's going to produce something pretty spectacular if she's on. She's shown that. She's got some arsenal of strokes, and she's got imagination as well. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it as just a tennis match to watch how it unfolds. I hope Boisson can handle it again. I see no reason why she can't. I don't see her being smashed off the court. And I see Coco Gauff probably having to do a lot of running about and really chasing after all sorts of shots. But I still end up expecting Coco Gauff to win.
Yeah, and look, I think one of the challenges for Boisson will be, balls are going to keep coming back. She's going to have to keep bringing it against Gauff. Another challenge is coming back the next day. She actually didn't know, did she, in her on-court interview? She didn't know that
there was a bit of a balls up, wasn't there?
Neither did Luca Bui.
Yeah, it was all very, very confusing. But I think that's a challenge coming back the next day. Look, maybe it's helpful, less time to think about it, but I keep thinking she's tired. That might just be her demeanour.
She said she was tired, didn't she? She said at the start of the second set, my first thought was, oh, I'm tired. But
she looks very low energy between points.
It's very efficient, isn't it? She's not expending any extraneous energy.
Yeah. So, look, what's fascinating is that we've got Sabalenka Swiatek tomorrow, and yet for the majority of people coming to 2.A, that is the undercard. Which is what? Like, we've been waiting years for Swiatek Sabalenka, and suddenly it feels like it's had its thunder stolen by Boisson, which is just such a wild sentence.
And we don't even have a schedule yet. I've seen it just says it's coming soon.
I think agonising is happening about what to do with that schedule tomorrow, which way round to put those matches. There's the most incredible buzz about the place. Usually things out and about in the grounds get flatter and flatter as the second week progresses, because there's just less going on out and about. But this is the most champagne I have seen flowing in our area.
Clinking right next to us.
It's very tantalising. It's a wonderful injection of buzz into the tournament. It really is fun, and just the most delicious sense of irony that it's come from a female French player. It's just so great. Look, we'll have a bit of more of a look ahead to Swiatek Sabalenka in part 3 of the show. In part 2, we're going to be back to talk about the men's matches: Sinner against Bublik, and the big one, Zverev against Djokovic. See you in part 2. Well, just before we're back in part 2, friends, there are just a few days left of Roland Garros now, and you know what that means? That means that grass is just around the corner. It is always so crazy how quick and dramatic the shift is from the red clay courts to the dewy green grass courts. And this year, we are not just covering the grass court season how we usually do here on the Tennis Podcast, although we are doing that, don't you worry. We are also joining the Tennis Channel team for live coverage of the HSBC Championships at the Queen's Club, David.
Yeah, so we're going to be commentating, you and I together, on the semi-finals and final of both the women's and the men's events, something we've never done before, so we're really excited about that. I am, anyway.
Hoping for the best, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, so it's going to be awesome.
And folks, for everybody that's been clamouring for more of Matt's face, more Matt on camera, the people say, their wishes are going to be granted.
Yeah, that's right, in the form of a rap show after play on the final 4 days of both the women's tournament and the men's tournament at Queen's, which is very exciting for us.
Yeah, it really is exciting for us. We're pumped about this, and you can catch it all live on the Tennis Channel app from first ball to last, every match, every court, and all with added tennis podcast. Our coverage will be available in the UK and the US, so don't miss a moment of this brilliant start to the grass court season. Welcome back to part 2 of the pod, where it is now midnight. The day is done. The quarterfinals are done. But 38-year-old Novak Djokovic is not. He has just beaten Alexander Zverev 4-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. A performance that has been variously described over the course of this evening as a dissection, a thing of magnificence, a surgical procedure, David.
Yeah, he is a professor of tennis. And at the age of 38, to be able to put into action the ideas that he has on a tennis court blow me away. I mean, he had he not lost his serve in the very first game of that match, I think he wins in straight sets, because he comprehensively outplayed Zverev. He really showed him up, to be honest, to being a very limited, one-dimensional, very effective ball striker. But that's what Zverev is. He strikes a good ball. He moves pretty well for a guy his size. But he was up against just somebody so many leagues above him in terms of imagination and ideas and execution. And yeah, Djokovic made him look pretty ordinary, really, tonight.
Yeah, that was the difference between 24 majors and 0, really. Like, Djokovic, in terms of his tactical mastery, he just said in his on-court interview that the tactic was to play drop shots. And he played 36 of them, I believe, tonight, which is very much in the same ballpark as Bublik against Draper. And, you know, he's got more tools at his disposal. He's better at using them. He plays the big points better. And he was absolutely awesome, striking the ball so well off both wings. He seemed very happy to go into backhand exchanges with Zverev, I think because it helped set up those drop shots. His forehand was cutting through the court in a way that is so devastating. He was exposing the Zverev deep return position with his wide serve on the deuce. And in the final game, we saw him come up with a couple of crucial serve and volley points off that side as well. Like, he just had everything tonight, Novak Djokovic. He was in total control. And generally, I was just struck by how within himself he seemed, and how sort of, okay, there were little moments in that fourth set where Zverev got into some service games, and, you know, we saw an incredible 41-shot rally, which obviously took a lot out of Djokovic. But generally, when I think back to his other sort of really standout great performance of this year, it was the other Grand Slam quarterfinal he'd played this year against Alcaraz, and that just took so much out of him, didn't it? You know, he had nothing left to play Zverev in the semi-finals. Well, he managed to get through this one comprehensively outplaying Zverev, and I think with plenty left in the tank as well. Like, totally job done for Novak Djokovic. Like, obviously getting through this was the main task, but an eye on the rest of the tournament too. And God, he's in, like, to think a few weeks ago we were worried about his form. I mean, look, the guy is just so good, and he showed that tonight.
Yeah, it does feel very different to Australia, doesn't it? And when he beat Carlos Alcaraz, his reward here in Paris is, of course, that he gets ushered into a cupboard. He's waiting for him there. Marion Bartley's waiting for him in the cupboard. They're having a hug. He's going to sit down and have an awkward interview on chairs that aren't big enough.
They're not, are they? A bit cosy.
I know that Djokovic respects and likes Zverev a lot. There's a love-in between the two of them, isn't there? But he showed so little respect for his game tonight, like in kind of the best possible way. Like, of those 36 drop shots, not all that many were clean winners. Like, a good few, but mostly he was inviting Zverev into the net, comfortable in the assumption that Zverev wouldn't be able to do an awful lot once he was there. And he was right.
Yeah, he uses that as such a clever tactic. He can be sitting in a backhand exchange very comfortably with Zverev, and virtually every time somebody changed the rally, it was Novak Djokovic who changed it. I only remember one in the fourth set from Zverev where he did something different. At no point did Zverev try to hit a shot and go to the net, unless he was brought in by Novak Djokovic. At no point did he play a drop shot of his own. At no point did he even change the angle of attack. He just kept going in diagonal lines, cross-court backhand to cross-court backhand. And unless Djokovic did something, that's how it was going to stay. It really felt, I started to realise when we got through latter stages of the second set, it felt like Novak Djokovic was kind of playing against a hitting partner in practice, and then he was just throwing in a drop shot. And very often it would bring Zverev kind of lumbering in towards the net, unable to do anything other than just pop it over the net and be passed. There were even a few that he couldn't even reach at all. It was a very clever tactic, but his execution as well. And as you say, talking about him playing within himself, he sort of stands there and then leans the one way when he realises which way Zverev's going to go. And there were many times where Zverev just ended up hitting the ball back to him when he was at the net because he'd read what he was going to do. And his tennis IQ, his natural ability to play this sport, Djokovic, has just got better year upon year of his career. He used to look to me in his early years as a kind of incredible athlete who was relatively straightforward as a tennis player, great baseliner. I would never have guessed he would develop his game to this degree. It's quite mind-boggling.
Whereas Zverev has barely developed his at all, and look, he's 28 now. This is another French Open gone by, and look, I know he's reached finals at the 2 hardcourt slams as well, but he himself says this is his favourite slam. This is his best shot at winning one. This is another one past. It's another fraction of the window closing on him, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I've never thought he would win one, and I remain of that view, because if he'd have beaten Djokovic today, I don't think he's beaten Jannik Sinner. I don't think he's beating Carlos Alcaraz, and there are increasingly players that are going to get more confident against him, I think. And I don't see him developing his game much further from where it is right now. This is how he wins tennis matches. What he did tonight wins him an awful lot of tennis matches, but it doesn't beat guys like this.
He's just Novak Djokovic signed tonight's artwork in the cupboard, which is a sort of butchering of Van Gogh's Starry Night, featuring the heads of himself and Alexander Zverev that bear no resemblance to their actual appearance.
No, neither one of those two people look like
I actually thought it was Stefanos Tsitsipas on the right. What a weird thing that cupboard is. Well, why don't we talk about Jannik Sinner's match against Alexander Bublik, because then we can get on to anticipating the semi-final between Djokovic and Sinner. Sinner beat Bublik today 6-1, 7-5, 6-love. This match, this performance, a perfect companion piece to Alexander Bublik's performance against Jack Draper. You've had the full Alexander Bublik experience across 2 matches.
It's true.
Whereas the Jannik Sinner experience remains entirely consistent.
It's the same every time.
Yeah.
Although you could say, not against Artur Rinderknecht. He lost 6 games today to Jannik Sinner. He lost 8 against Rublev, 3 against poor old Yuri Lehechka, 7 against Richard Gasquet. He lost a whopping 12 against high knees Ali Shuffle Artur Rinderknecht.
Yeah, I mean, it really was an incredible surge that Rinderknecht had in that third set. We said it at the time, and it's aged even better, hasn't it? I think what we've seen over the last few weeks is Sinner reducing player after player to sarcastic celebration about half an hour into a match against him that they've actually managed to win a game.
Like
Casper
really
Ruud,
good players. Ruud.
Lehechka, Bublik, one after another.
Wild.
Are just like relieved that they've managed to win a game against him. And look, Bublik played well in that second set. He was doing a lot of really good stuff. There was a brief moment where I thought, okay, maybe Bublik can pinch this set or something, and then it was over.
And then in the third set, he did what he told us he would have done against Jack Draper had he lost the fourth set.
Yeah. It was over. But Sinner did an incredible job right at the start of that match. Like, his form was just astonishingly good straight away, and did what I thought he would do: take the sting out of it, take any sense of fun that Bublik might be able to bring to the match out of it, take the crowd out of it, just a complete assertion of tennis dominance, really. And yes, Bublik had a little moment in the second set where he managed to start doing some of his things, but you know, Sinner was always in control of this match, and he's been awesome.
He might win the French Open dressed as a dental nurse.
It's blue shorts and green top.
And a cap. I don't know. It's a weird time for tennis kits.
There have been some Super Mario Brothers comparisons.
I'd say that's flattering. Anyway, Sinner against Djokovic is what we have now. In fact, these semi-finals, both sides of the draw, this is cracking, isn't it?
Oh, it's great.
We're in such a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Both
it's brilliant.
draws.
Yeah, absolutely. Both draws. Sinner against Djokovic. Head-to-head is 4-all, but Sinner's won the last 3. It's actually been over the course of sort of 2-3 years, watching this head-to-head evolve has been one of the most fascinating rivalry evolutions, I think, in men's tennis.
Yeah, the thing is, we just haven't seen that much of it in a while. You know, I know they played Shanghai last year, right? But basically, there was a concentrated period where they played quite a lot, wasn't it? And it was very important, I think, in Jannik Sinner's development to becoming the best player in the world. You know, the back end of 2023, when he beat him in that round robin match, didn't he, at the ATP finals? And it was one of those where, at the time, didn't matter that much to Novak Djokovic because he then won the final, beat him handily. But it did matter to Jannik Sinner.
It was very Jung Sabalenka Rome coded.
Yes. Domberg, Gottfried von Kram coded. And then, of course, Sinner got him at the Davis Cup that year, saving the match points. And that was the one that really then sort of, I think, helped transform Sinner into the absolute force that he's become. And then he beats him at the Australian Open. So there's those 4 matches in a very short space of time. But I think only the one since. And I've been waiting to see it more, to be honest, because we've seen a lot of Djokovic Alcaraz, and we know the effect that Djokovic can have on Alcaraz. And I can't wait to find out whether he can have the same effect on Jannik Sinner. You know, if Djokovic hits the ball like he did tonight and plays like he did tonight, he will be able to cause Sinner problems. I'm convinced of it.
And it will be the same conditions. That semi-final, it's preordained. That semi-final will be the night session semi-final, or putty night session,
the mini night
it.
session.
Starting at 7 p.m, although apparently Amelie Mauresmo says that's simply not viable.
There's going to be no one
session
in the stands for an hour and a half for this match.
The rest of the tournament, and miraculously, it's fine.
Yeah.
Same conditions as tonight for Djokovic.
And I do think that's helpful for Djokovic. You know, he's so good in night sessions, you know, generally any tournament.
Just quickly on the subject of night sessions, seeing as we're on them and seeing as Lois Boisson is on our screens in front of us here on Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video France, who haven't shown any of Boisson's matches in their coverage because they have exclusive rights to the night session, and she hasn't been scheduled in any of the night sessions, nor have any of the women in the draw. Well, it's being reported by Charlie Eccleshare in The Athletic this evening. The headline here, French Open accused of declining TV request to play Lois Boisson match in night session. He says the French Open has been accused of turning down a request from Amazon Prime to broadcast Lois Boisson's 4th round match against Jessica Pegula Monday in the primetime night session slot on Châtrier, the biggest court at Roland Garros. That is what's being reported, and it's pretty damning for the tournament, because that directly contradicts a number of things that Amelie Mauresmo stated categorically in her shambolic press conference of a few days ago.
Yeah, I think they need to explain themselves.
Anyway, back to Sinner Djokovic. So somehow, despite not featuring in an Amazon Prime night session match, Lois Boisson still has to go to the cupboard. Here she is in the cupboard in front of us. No one is safe. Sinner Djokovic, David.
Do you know, having seen what I've seen tonight, I think Novak Djokovic could win this thing. The way he is playing right
Title?
now. The title. And it would be so Novak Djokovic to do exactly that. To win his 25th major by beating Zverev, Sinner and Alcaraz back-to-back over the best of 5 sets. It would be so him. And the way he played tonight, I realise Sinner isn't Zverev. He is a better mover. He is better at going toe-to-toe. He's better at the net and he has better drop shots. He has a very good serve now, very reliable serve. But he's still, relative to what Djokovic is, he's more predictable, I think. He's more of a baseliner. Djokovic can do more things. Djokovic has got all those years of experience and knowledge and data that he's just stored in his brain and can make you malfunction. I just think that he's got a real chance this time. And he's so motivated. He's so determined because he's feeling good. He knows his time is limited. It's only the Grand Slams that get him feeling like this now that the Olympics is done.
It's a really compelling argument you make. And look, I can see it. If he executes drop shots the way he did tonight, Jannik Sinner isn't the most dexterous up at the net. Like he's got better. But I just think Sinner will handcuff him in a way that he handcuffs and has handcuffed other people for 15 years and will make it so much more difficult for him to do what he did tonight.
I definitely understand why you say that. And that's absolutely, it's probably the more likely scenario. He is kind of Novak Djokovic in some ways 15 years ago. But Zverev hit to a good length repeatedly. And Djokovic had the answers. I still think Jannik Sinner is a better baseliner than Zverev anyway. But I don't know. I just think the other thing to factor in here is Sinner has not had a tough match at all. That can help. He's fresh. But
no disrespect meant to Artur Rinderknecht.
No. But nobody's made him feel nervous. Nobody's made him have scoreboard pressure. Nobody's put him under any sort of rally pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The only time in the last few weeks where we've seen Sinner in a sort of really intense, high-pressure situation was the final against Alcaraz in Rome. And actually he didn't quite have it in the biggest moments there.
That's a good point.
In a way that he absolutely did, back end of last year, very start of this year, when he was just playing these top players so repeatedly. Also, I just think, like, right now, I think Djokovic would rather have this match here on clay at Roland Garros than on a hard court. I just think this stage of his career, everything we've talked about tonight with his drop shots, with his tactical acumen, all of that, he's such a good clay court player when he gets going on this surface. We've seen it at Roland Garros over the last 5 years or so. Like, he is so good. And I think Sinner sort of beating him on his favourite court, the Rod Laver Arena last year, was a real moment for me where I thought, okay, Sinner's the best hard court player in the world right now, and he's only carried that on since then. But on the clay, when Sinner, he's a very good clay courter, obviously, but he's never won a Masters 1000 on clay. He's never won a slam on clay. He's got a way to go still on this surface, I think. And I don't know. I just think Djokovic would probably want that match against him on clay right now. Maybe on grass as well.
Yeah.
I think we can't forget how good Djokovic is on grass, and Sinner's got that same development to make there. But yeah, I think the surface is in Djokovic's favour. Kind of the only thing that, and it's a big thing, it's a very big thing that's in Sinner's favour, is the years he's got on him. Like that, and that might be enough, because it's going to be an interesting test, though, isn't it? If it goes long, we've got doubts over both of them. Sinner's not won those really long matches. We're assuming that Djokovic is not going to be at his best post 4 hours, age 38. But there's so many elements to this which make it fascinating. I think the fact that we haven't seen it, I'm really pleased that the draws come out this way. Like, we've seen a lot of Djokovic Alcaraz, and I've enjoyed them immensely. But this brings a bit of freshness to the draw, I think, having Djokovic Sinner instead.
Will Sinner ask for Lois Boisson for his warm-up? Will he show up to warm her up tomorrow, and she'll show up for him on Friday?
That'd be nice.
I'd love it so much. Speaking of which, we've just seen Carlos Alcaraz and John McEnroe on exercise bikes together in the gym.
And apparently McEnroe asked Alcaraz how old his dad is. And Alcaraz said 54. And John goes, oh, great, I'm 66.
Yeah, I think he was on a hiding to nothing there. John McEnroe. He was pedalling so quickly, wasn't he?
And Alcaraz
you're
goes,
not in a race, John.
Alcaraz
and
goes,
if you are, you've lost.
Alcaraz goes, 66. You look 40. And John, and John was like, oh, okay. And he started pedaling a bit harder. He enjoyed that.
Oh dear. Okay, we'll have a bit of time to look ahead to Alcaraz Musetti tomorrow. When we come back for part 3, we'll look ahead to tomorrow's order of play. It is, of course, women's semi-final day. Welcome back to part 3 of the pod, where we look ahead now to tomorrow's play, day 12 of Roland Garros, starting on Chatrier at midday with the mixed doubles final. It is Taylor Townsend and her partner, Evan King, fellow American partner, fellow lefty. That's fun, isn't it? 2 lefties, pretty rare.
Yeah. I've seen him play a bit actually as well. He gets into it, and he's had some success actually earlier this year too.
They take on Sara Errani and Andrea Vavasori. Vavasori has obviously had things to say about the revamped mixed doubles competition at the US Open. He and Sara Errani are the reigning US Open mixed doubles champions, aren't they? So,
well, yeah, and you could understand it, can't you? If they don't get to play that thing, I hope they do let him in.
Yeah. He hopes so too, David. Anyway, chance to pick up another Grand Slam title tomorrow. That starts at midday, and it is followed by, not before 3 p.m, Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek.
Oh.
Anyone want to change their prediction? I think everybody was going with Sabalenka just.
Yeah, that's still my feeling. Just when you say it, I kind of get goosebumps thinking about it. In fact, I got goosebumps about all these semi-finals that are still to come, and the finals that will result. It's a wonderful position to be in.
There's no bad scenarios left, are there? Which is
no duffers.
None of David's duffers, which is a great place to be. Incidentally, the excitement rating just was one and done for tomorrow. They've gone 100 on Sabalenka Swiatek, and they haven't bothered to rate anything else.
Because they're on 1,000 for that.
Yeah, they just
and it's exploded.
They didn't know what to do with Davenport and Petkovic against Kontaveit and Tozier. That was beyond the powers of the excitement rating. Matt, you going Sabalenka?
I am. I'm going Sabalenka. I just think it's her time. I can't really say anything more thoughtful than that. She's just been playing the best tennis all year. She's playing the big points so well. She's so convincing. I think David made a great point about how if Swiatek comes out playing like she did against Rybakina, it's going to be trouble. Yeah. And yet there's just this part of my brain that's also saying, what are you doing going against Iga Swiatek at Roland Garros? But that's what makes it so intriguing and so fascinating. Like I will feel like a fool if Swiatek does end up winning, because it'll be like, well, the signs were there. She's played great in the last 2 rounds, and this is Roland Garros. But I'm going to stick with Sabalenka. I think it could be indoors. There's definitely a chance of that. There's going to be rain about tomorrow. I think it's due a bit later. And look, Swiatek's perfectly capable of beating Sabalenka indoors as well. So it's not a defining feature of the match, but it just feels like it might help Sabalenka a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Sabalenka, but basically, I'm just excited.
The unstoppable force in the immovable object, isn't it?
Feels like
quintessential. Rather different second semi-final. What a treat. Lois Boisson against Coco Gauff. Cue everybody underestimating Lois Boisson once again. David.
Well, it's possible that might feature in my newsletter prediction. So I'm going to hold fire on the actual outcome, but I'm telling you this. If Lois Boisson plays to her potential... I'm not settling and I'm not having this. This isn't how we do things. Well, okay. I might not go with that one in the prediction. So I might go with the other one. So anyway, I think Coco Gauff's going to win it in 3.
Matt.
Yeah. I can't predict Boisson to beat Gauff in a Grand Slam semi-final. I just can't do it.
If she might do it, but it'll be unpredictable if she does, right? Like, for us to predict it almost takes the fun out of the scenario if it happens.
Yeah.
There you go. I've got us out of jail in advance.
There's never been anyone who's reached the Grand Slam final in the first Grand Slam they've played. So that's what she's going for.
I just have a feeling the back-to-back days thing, it's just suddenly the rhythm's like different,
doesn't it?
It feels like something.
Look, Gauff needs to just create as many backhand exchanges. Like, just pick on that side, surely. And I know Boisson's had an incredible way of getting round her backhand and hitting inside in and inside out forehands, but I don't know, I just think with Gauff's movement, she should be able to manoeuvre the points in her favour a little bit more. But
while that match is happening over on Longlen, Mansour Bahrami and Sebastian Grosjean are going to be playing Gilles Simon and Mats Wilander. Who's going to be watching that?
Whoever's got tickets on
obviously
Chateau.
People do, and sorry, that's on Mathieu, not Longlen. Obviously people do, and it's nice that they put things on for people with grounds passes and people that fancy it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm always mesmerised by people that go and watch Sebastian Grosjean in the year 2025.
When a Grand Slam semi-final
When a Grand Slam semi-final's on, yeah. But there you go. Different folks, different strokes. There you go. Right, we have a mascot for this episode, and that mascot is Blake. Oh, what beautiful eyes.
Right, Blake.
Beautiful blue eyes. Blake is owned by Paula Czech.
Hey, hi, Paula.
We know Paula. Blake is a classic apple-headed seal point Siamese cat. A classic.
Wow.
What a exotic, elegant cat description that is. Apple-headed seal point Siamese. He's 10 and he rules the roost with 5 other cats and dogs. He loves lap sitting while mum watches tennis 24/7. Great. That is the way to do being a cat.
Yeah. Blake does look like he rules the roost, doesn't he?
He does.
He looks like he's got it all under control.
That's the energy you want from a cat.
Yeah.
I think. He's got incredible blue eyes. What a stunner.
He's got that sort of, get out of my face, I'll let you know when I need you.
Classic. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Blake. Thank you to our mascots. Hello, Phoebe. Hello, Maisie. David got points today.
Yes, Maisie. See? Don't give up on me.
And hello to Roger. Hello to our top folks and executive producers, Greg, Chris and Jeff. And Matt, let's have some shout-outs.
We have Vicky Cole from Downton near Salisbury.
Right, Vicky.
Hello, Vicky. Is that where Downton Abbey is?
Gotta be, hasn't it?
I would have thought so. I mean, Downton Abbey is filmed somewhere in Berkshire, I think. But Well, let us know.
Vicky like Vicky Duval.
Very good.
Very good.
That's a tennis player, isn't it?
Oh,
It's definitely a tennis player,
baby.
yeah.
Yeah. See?
Yep. Vicky says, thanks for all the work you put in. It massively helps me to enjoy the tennis I watch.
Oh, thanks, Vicky.
That is lovely. Thank you. I'm just Googling, where is Downton Abbey? Bear with me.
And also like Vicky Spreadbury, who works with us.
Exactly.
Might be a different spelling,
This
though.
is Vicky with a Y.
Yes, ours is with an I.
Yeah.
It's actually Hampshire where it's filmed, Highclere Castle, North Hampshire. Unclear where the fictional Downton Abbey estate is supposed to be. Let's assume it's where Vicky lives.
Quite right.
Thank you, Vicky.
We've also got Sally Wells.
Oh, no, it's Yorkshire. The Crawley family. The series is set in Downton Abbey, a Yorkshire country house. Sorry, Vicky.
Sorry, Sally.
Yeah, sorry, Sally. Hi, Sally. How you
Hello,
doing?
Sally.
Sally is from Cape Town.
Oh, fun. I'd like to go to Cape Town one day.
And Sally says that she watches tennis with her ginger cat, Yoda.
Oh, that's a great name for a cat.
Name, yeah.
Superb.
I'm trying to do I'm trying to do a Yoda thing now, but it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning and my head isn't there.
Just give it a go. Let's see where we end up.
You thank Sally shout out for.
Okay.
That is Yoda, isn't it? That's what Yoda does.
Kinda.
What do we know about Sally?
Well, I've told you what we know about Sally.
Okay. Any tennis Sallys? No, she's just got the Yoda impression. Okay, Sally. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Sally.
And finally, we have Peter Tubb from Kingston upon Thames.
Hi, Peter.
Isn't that pretty much where you're from, Matt?
That is where I
Kingston?
was born, Kingston upon Thames.
And Peter, like Peter Fleming, the great doubles player.
Exactly.
Thanks, Peter.
And Peter says, I'm an OG listener since the very first episode.
Oh, my. Peter knows too much about me.
Should we have a listen along afterwards?
I feel exposed the way Zverev did tonight against Djokovic. Peter, thank you very much indeed. Peter, Sally and Vicky, we thank you. Thank you to all of our friends of the Tennis Podcast. We are proudly part of the Athletic Podcast Network. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow.